Rain was coming down hard, splattering against the window. Each drop kind of blurred into the next, like the way I felt inside, looking out from Isla Montgomery's fancy apartment. She was all curled up on the window seat, just staring at the city lights. Not like she was enjoying the rain or anything, more like she was trying not to face what was real. Thing is, at 26, Isla Montgomery was a big-shot corporate strategist, working with all the fancy folks in New York finance. Anyone looking at her from the outside would have thought she was tough, smart, and cool as a cucumber, like nothing could get to her. But the real deal? Her life was mostly about losing stuff, getting stabbed in the back, and feeling alone. And tomorrow? Tomorrow her life wasn't even gonna be hers anymore. 'Cause tomorrow she was Maureen, some guy she couldn't stand. Isla Montgomery. She was born into one of those families that everyone knows in New York, loaded and important. Her dad, Richard Montgomery. He was a real player in the money world. She grew up with all the cash you could imagine, but money never bought her happiness. Her mom, Elena Montgomery. Now she was the nicest lady you could ever meet. Isla could still feel how warm her hugs were. Remember the stories she'd whisper at bedtime. But that all went away when her mom got sick and died when Isla was just 10. After that, everything went cold. Fast forward 3 years, and her dad marries Catherine Montgomery. This lady was ambitious, always thinking 3 steps ahead. Isla knew right away that Catherine wasn't gonna love her, not ever. Catherine never yelled or hit her or anything. But her words? They were sharper than any knife. Like, she'd say stuff like, "Isla, you need to get out of the house more. A Montgomery needs to hang with the right crowd." Or, "That dress looks cheap on you. But who cares, right? No one even notices you anyway." Isla tried to get her dad to care again, but it was no use. He never stood up for her against Catherine. Work was always number one for him, and Isla was just kinda there. So, she learned the hard way that the only person she could count on was herself. But no matter how tough she tried to act, she knew the truth. That house never felt like a home. Lately, Montgomery Enterprises was in deep trouble. Huge debts, shareholders bailing out, deals gone bad. It was a real mess, like a bomb about to go off. Isla didn't give a damn about the company, but she could see the tension between her dad and Catherine was getting worse. Then, one stormy night, they called her downstairs. The second she walked in, she knew something was up. Catherine was sitting all fancy on the sofa, wine in hand, eyes looking sharp and cold. Richard Montgomery looked more tired than ever. Catherine spoke first, her voice smooth but with an edge to it. "Montgomery Enterprises is in danger. We need a way out." Isla crossed her arms, raising an eyebrow. "And why are you telling me this?" Catherine just smirked, putting down the wine. Catherine put this stack of papers on the table, smooth as you please. "You're gonna marry Nicholas Blackwell," she says. The air in the room turned ice cold. I swear Isla could feel her blood freezing up. Nicholas Blackwell, the CEO of Blackwell Industries, one of the biggest companies in the city. He wasn't just rich, he was known for being a cold, ruthless, you-know-what. Isla jumped up, her voice hot enough to burn. "No way. I'm not some doll you can play with." Catherine took a sip of wine, didn't even flinch. "You think you have a choice here? Without Nicholas, the company's gonna crash and burn. Your father loses everything." Isla turned to her dad, hurt and mad all mixed up. "Are you really gonna let them use me like this?" But Richard Montgomery didn't say nothing. Not a word of comfort, not even a little protest. Just stood there silent. Like a knife in the back, that's what it felt like. The guy she used to look up to was selling her off like she was a piece in a game. Catherine just smiled like she was enjoying this. "Hate me all you want, Isla. The wedding's still happening." Isla balled up her fists, trying to keep it together. She looked at her dad again, waiting for him to say something. Anything. But he stayed quiet. That was it. The guy who was supposed to protect her was just using her for a deal. She took a shaky breath, trying not to cry. Then she smirked, a cold little smile. "Fine. I'll marry him. But don't expect me to be a good little wife." 3 days later, Isla was at one of the fanciest hotels in New York. The elevator doors opened to the top floor, and she could feel this coldness right away. She walked into the VIP suite and saw the guy she was stuck marrying, Nicholas Blackwell. He was sitting on this black leather sofa, all powerful and distant. He had this perfect face, strong jaw, eyes like ice. Everything about him, from his tailored suit to the way he sat, said cold and ruthless. Isla smirked, breaking the silence. "Good evening, Mr. Blackwell. I'm Isla Montgomery, your bride-to-be, not that I want to be." The air got even thicker. Nicholas didn't move a muscle. He just stared at her, like he was trying to see right through her. It made her feel naked, like he could see all her weaknesses. But she wasn't going to let him see her sweat. She just tilted her head, smirking harder. Then he finally spoke, his voice low and deep. "I don't care who you are. This is just a business deal. We get married, live together for a year, then get divorced. I don't have time for games." Isla felt like someone had dropped a ton of bricks on her chest. She knew he was going to be a cold fish, but hearing it like that still stung. Nicholas slid this stack of papers over to her. "Sign here." Nicholas just shoved the papers across the table. "Read it. If you agree, sign at the bottom." Isla flipped through, looking at all the fine print. No messing with each other's lives. No catching feelings. No showing up in the tabloids looking like a fool. The contract's for 5 years, then we can get a divorce. She kind of laughed, but it wasn't funny. "You really think you can put emotions in a contract?" Nicholas didn't even blink. "I don't need to control them, because I'm never going to love you." Isla grabbed her chest like she was having a heart attack. "Oh no, my heart's broken." Nicholas didn't react. His face didn't move an inch. She shrugged, grabbed the pen, and signed her name real casual. "All right, Mr. Blackwell, I'll play your game." The wedding was all for show, a fancy party with important people and cameras flashing. But there was no love there, nothing real. Isla was wearing this white dress, but inside she felt frozen. When the priest said, "Nicholas Blackwell, do you take Isla Montgomery to be your wife?" Nicholas didn't even hesitate. His voice was deep and cold, like nothing could touch him. "I do." Isla raised an eyebrow, smirking. She shrugged and said, "Well, I guess I do too." Nicholas gave her a look, but didn't say anything. The door to Nicholas's penthouse slammed shut, like they were locked away from the world. Isla walked in looking around. No flowers, no champagne, nothing romantic. Just a fancy, modern place that was cold and lifeless, like the guy who owned it. She crossed her arms. "Well, Mr. Blackwell, it's our wedding night. You think you could at least pretend to be nice to your wife?" Nicholas loosened his tie, real precise. "What are you expecting here?" Isla batted her eyelashes. "Oh, nothing crazy. Maybe some wine? A little chat? Or, just a little something?" Nicholas gave a dry laugh, nothing warm about it. "You're wasting our time." He put down his whiskey glass and stepped closer. He was big, kind of intimidating, but still, you couldn't read him. "We both know this isn't a real marriage. No need to put on a show." Isla tilted her head, Logan a little. "Are you always like this? Cold, uptight, no fun at all?" Nicholas didn't say nothing. He just took off his watch and put it on the table, real neat. Everything about him was controlled, distant. His being, so indifferent, just got under her skin. She crossed her arms, her eyes sparkling. "Tell me, Mr. Blackwell, do you even know what's supposed to happen on a wedding night?" Nicholas slid his hands in his pockets, looking right at her. "I don't care." Isla smirked, playing with his tie. She took a step closer, watching him close. "Then I guess I'll have to make you care." Nicholas let out a breath, like he was losing his patience. He reached for his tie, yanking it. "Ready for the next part? I'm keeping the YouTube guidelines in mind. Let me know if it's hitting the right notes." He yanked his tie out of her hand. "Stop messing with me." His voice was low and mean. Isla just laughed a little, stepping back with a look like she'd won. Nicholas Blackwell wasn't as cool as he thought he was. Before he knew it, she grabbed his tie again, twisting it around her fingers and pulling on it a little. Nicholas froze. His eyes got darker. Isla whispered, trying to be teasing but firm. "Have you read the contract, Nicholas?" His jaw tightened, but he didn't move. Every word. Isla let go of the tie and stepped back, smiling, like she was daring him. "Good. Then, you remember the first part." Nicholas looked at her for a long time, then finally turned away. Don't push it, Isla. The door to the guest bedroom clicked shut. Isla grinned. Nicholas Blackwell had noticed her. And this was just the start. 3 weeks after the wedding, Isla's real nightmare started. She was in her office, looking through some papers when her phone rang. It was a number she didn't know. She answered, trying to sound normal. Hello. But it wasn't her dad on the other end. Or Catherine. It was some stranger's voice. Cold, like he didn't care, but also a little sorry. Is this Isla Montgomery? She frowned. Yes, speaking. We're sorry to tell you that your father, Mr. Richard Montgomery, passed away this morning from a heart attack. He was rushed to the hospital, but he didn't make it. The world around Isla just fell apart. She couldn't breathe for a second. No, that's not true. She could barely get the words out. I'm very sorry for your loss. The phone fell out of her hand and landed on the desk. Right then, her world just collapsed. Richard Montgomery wasn't a great dad. He never really fought for her, but he was still her family. And now he was gone. 3 days later, at the funeral, Isla stood by the grave, dressed in black, looking like nothing could touch her. The rain was coming down, getting her all wet, but she didn't even notice. Nicholas was standing next to her, watching as Richard Montgomery was lowered into the ground. And for the first time, he saw that Isla was different. The woman who was always making jokes, always messing with him, now just looked empty, like she'd lost everything. No smirks, no playing around, just silence. And that bothered Nicholas for some reason. Catherine Montgomery was playing her part, the sad widow, looking just upset enough. But Isla knew better. Catherine wasn't sad, she was waiting. And when the funeral was over, she made her move. Richard's gone, Isla, Catherine said, real calm. And starting today, Montgomery Enterprises belongs to me. Isla balled up her fists, but her voice stayed cold. You're lying. Catherine laughed and pulled out some papers from her bag and put them on the table, looking real pleased with herself. See for yourself, she said. Isla, her hands shaken, flipped through the pages. And then she saw it, her dad's signature at the bottom. A paper saying he was giving Catherine everything he owned in Montgomery Enterprises. Isla was burning up inside. She looked at Catherine, her voice sharp. You made him sign this, or you faked it. Catherine just shrugged, like it was funny. Believe what you want. Doesn't change the fact that I won. Isla clenched her teeth. She lost her dad. And now, Catherine had taken everything he worked for. But it wasn't over yet. Catherine pulled out some more papers and slid them across the table. If you're good, I might let you keep a little piece. Just for show, of course. Isla smacked the papers away, her eyes wild. You think I'd take that? Catherine smirked. Then what are you gonna do? You got no power, Isla. You got no friends. Who's gonna help you? Nicholas. Isla's heart stopped. What are you talking about? Catherine pushed another paper at her, real slow. Nicholas and I already made a deal. If he works with me, Blackwell Industries gets a big part of Montgomery Enterprises. Isla stared at the words, not believing it. Nicholas betrayed her? That night, at Nicholas's penthouse, Isla stormed in, mad as hell. You did this, didn't you? She threw the papers on the table, her voice full of hate. You made a deal with Catherine. You stabbed me in the back. Nicholas looked at the papers, then at her. But what hurt the most was that he didn't say no right away. The silence felt like a punch in the gut. She laughed, but it didn't sound happy. I was a fool to think you were any different. Nicholas's face didn't change, but his eyes looked different. Is that what you think? Isla gritted her teeth. Then tell me why you did it. Nicholas sighed and pushed the papers aside. I was never on Catherine's side. I just acted like it to take her down. Isla froze. What? Nicholas stood up and walked toward her. His eyes weren't cold anymore, but serious. I'm gonna help you get the company back. Isla looked in his eyes, trying to see if he was lying, but for the first time, she saw he meant it. She took a breath and nodded. All right, let's take Catherine down together. In war, you need someone on your side, and Isla had no choice but to trust Nicholas Blackwell. That night, they sat across from each other in Nicholas's office. Isla crossed her arms, looking at him hard. So what's the plan? Nicholas opened a file and slid it over to her. Isla looked down. It was a bunch of papers about Montgomery Enterprises. We got 3 steps, Nicholas said, real firm. 1. Find a way Catherine didn't get the inheritance right. Isla frowned, looking through the papers. And you got any proof of this? Nicholas smirked a little and pulled out some more papers. I got the best lawyers in New York. They looked at Catherine's contract and found stuff that looks like it was faked. Isla's head snapped up, her heart thumping. You mean we actually got a shot at this? Nicholas nodded, his eyes sharp. Yeah, if we show this to the board, Catherine's gonna lose everything. For the first time in weeks, Isla felt a little hope. But Nicholas wasn't done yet. Just showing. And the papers isn't gonna be enough. We gotta make her weak first. Isla clenched her fists. I can talk some of the board members into tenning against her. Nicholas leaned back. All right, that's where we start. You handle the people, I'll handle the law stuff. By the time the board meeting comes, Catherine's gonna be nothingned. Isla looked at him for a long time. This wasn't just about business anymore. For the first time, she felt like someone was really on her side. She took a deep breath and held out her hand. Let's do this. Nicholas grabbed her hand tight, giving it a little squeeze. Time to take Catherine down. The plan was set. Isla and Nicholas started right away. Nicholas got his lawyers to look at the contract Catherine had. Just like he thought, Richard Montgomery's signature looked like it was faked. We got to show this to the board, Nicholas said, his eyes cold. Once they start asking questions about the contract, Catherine's done. Isla nodded. I'll take care of the shareholders. Isla met with the board members who were loyal to her dad and told them what Catherine was really up to. She doesn't care about the company. She's just using it for herself, Isla told them. They started to have doubts about Catherine. Meanwhile, Nicholas found proof of Catherine doing some shady money stuff, making her look even worse. The day of the board meeting came. Catherine walked in looking all confident, but Isla and Nicholas were ready. Isla stood up and put a folder on the table. Today, I'm going to show you the truth about Catherine Montgomery. She flipped through the papers, showing them the fake contract, Catherine's bad deals, and how the company was doing bad under her. The shareholders started whispering, losing faith in Catherine. Nicholas stood up, his voice clear. I say we vote to get rid of Catherine Montgomery as head of Montgomery Enterprises. The room went quiet. Catherine's face turned white, but she couldn't stop what was coming. Finally, the board voted. Catherine was officially out. Isla turned to Nicholas, and for the first time, she felt like she'd won for the first time. Catherine was furious, but it was over. Montgomery Enterprises was back in Isla's hands. Finally, the fight was done. Montgomery Enterprises was back in Isla's hands. Catherine was beat, leaving the building looking ashamed. But Isla didn't feel as good as she thought she would. She stood on the balcony of the penthouse, looking at the city lights. But inside she felt empty. She got her company back. She won. But now what? She heard footsteps behind her. She knew it was Nicholas without looking. He stood there, his eyes looking different, not so far away. We won, he said softly. Isla laughed a little, but it didn't sound happy. What about our marriage? Nicholas didn't say anything right away. Then he reached in his pocket and pulled out something familiar. Their marriage contract. Isla held her breath as he pulled out a lighter. In a few seconds, the papers were on fire, every word, every rule burning up. Isla caught her breath as Nicholas flicked the lighter open. The flame got close to the pages. Wait, she said. But it was too late. The fire caught, and the contract was gone in seconds. She watched, not saying anything, as the paper turned to black ashes. Her heart was racing. This wasn't Nicholas Blackwell, the cold businessman. This was something else. Something real. Nicholas looked at her, his voice low but sure. I don't want a marriage with rules anymore. I want you. Isla couldn't look away from the ashes of their contract. The rules, the conditions, everything they agreed to, gone. She looked up at Nicholas. You really gonna throw everything away? Nicholas stepped closer, slow and steady. This marriage started as a business deal, but it isn't anymore. Isla's heart was beating fast. She always thought Nicholas was cold, couldn't feel nothing. But now, she saw something in his eyes. Something real. She shook her head, still not sure. You don't believe in love. Nicholas laughed a little, but it didn't sound mean this time. Maybe you're right, but if I gotta believe in something, I want to believe in you. For the first time, Isla didn't see Nicholas Blackwell as a robot. He didn't need to say much. What he did said more than words ever could. Nicholas took her hand and pulled her close. Gave me a chance to start over. Isla looked in his eyes. This time, no walls, no doubt. She nodded slow. All right, but Nicholas, this time, you can't run away. Nicholas smiled and leaned in, kissing her soft but sure on the lips. This wasn't a contract marriage anymore. This was a new start.